Bronc Bros podcast with Adam Ramirez and Sean Flanagan.
Broncos fans, welcome back to the Bronc Bros podcast. We are the Bronc Bros, Mile High Mez, or Adam, whatever you like to call me, and Sean. So we are here bearing it all for our fans today without a hat on. Sean, what are we doing?
It's late, man. It's late. It's too many steps. I can't get there.
Yeah, I just with work stuff going on, some interviews and customer calls. It can be. I have to look the part, you know. It just gotta.
I go from coach's hat, and then I usually get my Broncos hat. But today I was like, I'm going all natural.
Hey, I think we like it. I was doing the Rockies podcast earlier today too, so this is a very busy day for me. But now we get to talk about the Broncos, Sean, which is what you and I love to do, which is why we're called the Bronc Bros in the first place. So, Sean, before we get into anything related to the Broncos, of course, we have to take a couple moments here to talk about or react to the Travis Kelce engagement, right?
I mean,
okay, moving on. All right, so just so everyone's clear, we do not care, and 95% of the country doesn't care.
Yeah, and let's move on.
We saw the Avalanche admin post about it, and they got absolutely torched.
I'm sure
by the fans. It's like, do you not know who we root for in football? Exactly. Like, what are you talking about?
Read the room, bro.
Yeah. So anyway, Sean, we were talking about on the last episode about the roster, right? So we were hoping that Blake Watson wouldn't get cut, and of course, naturally, he got cut. And then we were hoping that Audric Estime wouldn't get cut, and he got cut. So mainly, everything happened the way we thought it would, Sean, especially in that running back room. What are your thoughts on the overall roster and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was no surprises as I saw the list come out. It kind of, we were expecting a surprise just because it just tends to be how it is. I guess Bailey surprises me a little bit. I'm glad that they were able to sneak him out of the practice squad. I know Blake Watson, it was a injury designation or injury settlement. So I think that there's still potential there. I haven't seen him sign with somebody else unless I just overlooked it. But Estime was the only running back I saw that had signed. So, but we also filled our roster, our 16 man practice squad, and he was not on there. So I'm interested to see what happens with that, or where he goes, or what goes on with that. But I'm not sure how the injury designation will affect when and where he goes either. So,
one thing that took me by surprise, Sean, was Sam Ehlinger being like, "No thanks, I don't want to play for your team. I'd rather just be on the practice squad with the Broncos." I thought that was pretty amazing. And honestly, Sean Payton has been building this quarterback room with that kind of culture for the last couple of years, right? So that was actually nice to see. And he played really good in preseason, so not too bad to keep him on the roster, right?
Yeah, I honestly, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think that there's something there. Like Stidham's going to get traded because of an injury, or there's some kind of long-term guarantee that, the likelihood of Stidham signing long-term is going to be challenging because he's going to be, sought after in maybe some other roles. So I think there's maybe, I don't want to say promises because you know how the NFL is, but I think there's maybe some opportunities outside of obviously not moving your family and things like that. But I mean, it's got to be a major, major difference from a league minimum 53-man roster salary and a practice squad salary. So I feel like there's got to be something in his favor for him to make such a decision like that.
Possibly. The Jarrett Stidham stuff, I keep seeing that there's rumors flying around. If there were actual rumors flying around, that trade would have happened already. So that trade's not going to happen. At least from my point of view, Sean, do you agree?
Yeah,
not right now.
No, there would have to be an injury to a quarterback that doesn't have a sufficient backup. That would be, if before pre-trade deadline injury, is really the only way that I see that. But I do see it as a possibility. It always happens, so there's, it's not like anybody's going to block for Joe Burrow. So.
Yeah, the hype around the Bengals is astounding. We are going to put a lot of points on them on Monday Night Football. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll talk a little bit about the practice squad here, Sean. No running backs on the squad, just a fullback, Adam Prentice. And it looks like 2 wide receivers, which is good because we only have 5, right? We are going to have to stay really healthy at that position this year. So along with Ellinger, we've got A.T. Perry. We have Michael Bandy, who I believe was on the practice squad last year. Caleb Lohner, I'm really happy to see him on the practice squad. I think he is a very athletic guy, but he needs some time to learn the game of football and just get some more reps in. But I think he could be a monster given some time here. I was a little surprised to see Throckmorton on the practice squad and not on the team, but we seem to have a lot of depth there on the offensive line as well. Jordan Miller and Lavelle Bailey, like you were talking about. Jordan Turner, pretty solid players on the practice squad here.
Yep.
And then the cornerback room, the safety room are, given the fact that at the NFL level, we are absolutely stacked in the defensive backfield. It makes sense that Turner Yell, Keydron Smith, Quentin Newsome, and Reese Taylor are on the practice squad. So really, the Broncos just adding more depth, Sean, to a position of strength on the roster.
Yeah, and that's honestly why those guys are there, right? Because you're so good that guys like that, the only place that they can be if they want to be a Bronco is on the practice squad. So, barring injury and a call up, that's probably where we'll see a running back get added to the 16, I would assume, if there's an injury or something like that. But yeah, I'm not surprised by who's on that list. I'm happy with what we have there. I do think it's a little interesting to not have a running back to go from 6 to 4 with nothing in the stable, if you will. But we always draft or find a free agent there, so we'll figure that out. I'm not terribly concerned. We've got good depth on the 53. So,
and seeing how we thought, Sean, the running back room would go the way it went, did you have any sort of reaction to Estime and Watson being released from the team?
No, like I said last week, I was hoping we'd carry 5, but I knew that was a stretch based on areas of actual need, so, but that was just maybe that's a little more of the fan and us hoping that Watson got to stay. But I think even for our last 2 pods, I said Estime wasn't going to make this football team. So he's just the odd man out. You draft a kid that's doing really well. You bring in a J.K. Dobbins, you sprinkle in a little Jaleel McLaughlin obsession, and it's going to be hard to, get anybody else on the roster. So, and then, considering Watson was injured, it just was what it was. But I'm not surprised. I think Estime didn't do anything last year where you say, we have to see more from this guy. And then preseason was just kind of, So, that's just kind of where it finished. I like Audric. It just, we're too deep there, and he just, obviously didn't make the cut.
So, Sean, what are your thoughts on what, in my opinion, looks like a lighter receiver room? Looks like, because we only have 5 guys in there, right? So if we sustain an injury, that could be pretty devastating to our roster. Did you think we should have carried or tried to find another receiver, or are you good with the 5?
I think if we were going to, once you get rid of Vele, to me, the only way you're going to carry more than 5 is if you bring somebody else in, because you obviously feel confident with those 5 and what they're doing. And if you're going to carry a 6th, he has to play special teams. So, it's definitely makes you nervous, I guess, right? Because it's not like, Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims are not big guys, and Marvin Mims left practice today with an injury. So while I know it's mild, that's a thin room that can't afford soft tissue injuries. So, and especially with a room full of small guys. So, but Pat Bryant and Cortland Sutton are bigger dudes, so they're going to have to carry the load, I guess.
Yeah, I think the Broncos have a really good dynamic, right? They've got good possession receivers, which Cortland Sutton is considered a game or a playmaker in some circles. I think he's a good red zone target. I don't know if he's necessarily a playmaker, but him and Bryant, in my opinion, are good possession receivers. And then you've got the explosive guys like Mims and Franklin. And then Sherfield kind of falls in between the two. He's just a really good blocker, but he's also not very big, right?
Yeah.
So we got three guys that are kind of on the smaller side when it comes to receiver. But at the end of the day, we are not the head coach. We are not the GM. We're just talking about the team we love. So we're going to have to trust what the front office is doing, right? And obviously, this roster is built to win a lot of games this year, assuming they can stay healthy, right?
Nope.
So, Sean, saying that, we're going to get into some predictions here. So we might as well start with our division winners. We can give a little blurb about why we think those teams are going to win the division. And we can just go through the AFC real quick. So who do you have as your division winners in the AFC?
So East, I think, is a slam dunk. I don't see anybody even getting remotely close to the Bills. It's just they're in a Super Bowl window. I don't think Justin Fields moves the needle. Maybe Travion Henderson changes a little bit for the Patriots, but they're still not there. So I don't see anything other than the Bills out of the East. North, I think it's Baltimore. I think they're a Super Bowl favorite. I just don't, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to do much of anything in Pittsburgh. I think that's a stopgap to whoever they're going to draft next year. DK Metcalf, you swap him for George Pickens. They're both good receivers. I don't think you really change anything there. So I think it's the Ravens. And obviously we've spoken about it a million times. The Bengals, we'll see who can tackle anybody, So and then Cleveland, who knows who's going to play quarterback. Cleveland is Cleveland. So that's it. Just is what it is. The South, I think that's kind of where you and I maybe disagree a little bit. You go first. You had Jacksonville, right?
AFC South champion. Is that what I said? No, I had the Texans.
Oh, Texans. Yeah.
You're ruining my playoff picks over here, bud. But yeah, no, I had the Texans. And
yeah. I mean, I think CJ is going to have a big rebound year. If they still stay healthy at the receiver position, they're going to be great. And they have Chubb and Mixon when he comes back from injuries. And DeMeco Ryans is a great coach, and they have arguably the second best corner in the league. So Texans there, and then I'm sticking to it, man. I said from the get-go in the West, I think we have an opportunity this year. I think we are going to capitalize on that opportunity, and I am taking the Broncos to win the West.
Okay.
Hit me with your AFC, man.
Well, we do have some slight disagreements, kind of. I don't think the Bills are as far and away from the Patriots as people want to say. I'm not. And I've talked about this the whole time I've worked for this company and done these podcasts. I am not on the Bills bandwagon. I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders because every time they go to the playoffs, they lose to the Chiefs or they get housed by the Bengals or whatever it is that happens to them. Right. I'm not a believer. I'm not going to put him in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to put him in the AFC Championship. I'm just not going to do it. I just can't do it. But I do have them winning the AFC East because you've got arguably the worst team in the league in that division, the Dolphins. I think they have a chance to be really, really bad. They are bad. And the head coach dynamic, it's toxic. You got Tyreek Hill in court, and Tua can't stay healthy, and their offensive line is not good, and their running backs are not healthy. They're all, 3 cornerbacks in training camp got hurt. They are not in good shape. So definitely not the Dolphins. I think the team that can threaten the Bills is the Patriots for sure, and I would love to see it. Drake May, Travion Henderson, that young receiver core. Their defense was pretty good last year
New coach
in some areas. Yep, they got a new coach that has won before. So I'm excited to see what the Patriots do this year, but I'll take the Bills. And then in the North, I'm going with the Ravens, and I'm going with the Ravens a lot, just so you guys have a spoiler alert there. Going with the Ravens. The Bengals are going to score, right? That they're the Bengals. They are not going to stop anybody from doing anything. It's probably good that they got Trey Hendrickson back, because otherwise their defense would be even worse. But we'll see if Mike Hilton ends up back in the Bengals defensive backfield, because he just got released. But the Browns, why do we even mention them? Who knows? They could be the worst team. It's the Dolphins, the Browns, the Saints, right? Those are the three. It's got to be.
I would think so. Yeah, the Saints are going to be bad.
The Colts are going to be not good either, but not quite as bad as them. I think the Steelers, this is the year that they're finally not going to win 10 games and get into the playoffs. I don't have them in there. I think the Ravens are going to run away with the division, personally. And then the AFC West, oh man, people are going to be mad at me. We did a prediction show, and I think I had the Broncos winning the division.
You did. You got cold
on the last week of the season. Well, here's the thing. On the last podcast, I said, until it happens, I'm not dethroning the Chiefs until it actually happens. Like, it's just not. I can't do it. And I would be in the same boat if the Broncos were defending AFC West champions. I'd say, you know what, come and get it. You can't call yourselves the new kings of the division unless you actually take it. And so I want to see the Broncos take the division, but until we see it, I'm gonna take the Chiefs to win the West. So we will, and it's not gonna be by a lot. And I know our 13 followers are not gonna be very happy with me, but since we have such a small following for now, Sean, I can get away with stuff like this just a little bit.
Yeah, your days are
but
numbered,
who
bro.
fills out? I know, right? I'm going to be exiled. Who fills out your playoff bracket in the AFC?
I went Chiefs, Chargers, Steelers.
Steelers.
If the Steelers can make the playoffs with Russell Wilson and Fields, I feel, it's virtually the same team. So, Tomlin, you think the team's going to be trash and they're above 500. I don't know what it is. They're never good enough to do anything, but they're always just good enough to get in. And I think that's just kind of how it's going to be again this year. So I have them kind of being the last team that limps in. But I do think the Chargers have done quite a bit on offense to, make some noise and beat some teams, which I don't love, obviously, to have the type of division that we're going to have when we have such a good team is, it's going to be a close race, but I do have Chiefs in the 5, Chargers in the 6, Steelers in the 7th. What about you?
Interesting. Well, of course, I have the Broncos in the playoffs. They're going to be the top wild card. And then my next 2 picks are not going to be very popular, but this happens every year, Sean, where teams come out of nowhere, right? And they make the playoffs, and teams that we thought were going to make the playoffs just have horrible seasons, right? So I think with those injuries to the offensive line in the Chargers lineup, I think that's going to hurt. Justin Herbert has already had issues staying healthy because of their lack of ability to protect him. And losing Slater is a huge, huge deal for the Chargers. Yeah. So I don't see them, and I don't think their defense has taken a step forward. I guess we'll see right on the field, but I'm not as high on the Chargers as other people are. I think Justin Herbert's a fantastic quarterback, but I don't have them in the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Jaguars. Because if there's one thing we know about Mike Vrabel is that everywhere he's gone, he has won. As a player, as a coach, whatever, right? So even going back to college. He won in college. He won as a pro with the Patriots. He won as a coach with the Titans. Not Super Bowls, but he took them to the playoffs and to an AFC championship game that I'll never forgive them for losing the Titans. But yeah, I really think that they're going to be well coached. Their defense is ready to take that next step, and I think the offense couldn't get worse than it was last year. And Travion Henderson are arguably going to be a force to be reckoned with here for Rookie of the Year. So I'll take the Patriots. And then whatever, I don't know what's possessing me to take the Jaguars.
Travis
Trevor actually has nothing to do with him. No, Trevor Lawrence is an enigma, right? Sometimes he makes some of the greatest throws you'll find. And then sometimes it's like, who is he throwing the ball to? Like, what is going on here? And then he's got health concerns. But I think that this really weird aura around their head coach that everyone's questioning because he comes off as like a giant dork is going to work out for them for some reason. And I don't know. I'm probably digging my own grave because the Nathaniel Hackett thing is kind of that vibe in Jacksonville. But I think that they're really stacked on offense if they can stay healthy for sure. And then Travis Hunter can make all the difference in the world on both sides of the ball. We'll see how that plays out through an entire NFL season. But I'm going to take a little bit of a stab in the dark and go with the Jaguars. So that leaves out the Chargers, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Steelers. And I think that's really it. Nobody else is really a contender, right?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest threats for sure.
So staying in the AFC, who is your dark horse?
Gosh, I'm trying to even remember. I think I did have Jacksonville as my dark horse, if I remember correctly. And I do think it's strictly on the offense, but and their ability to stay healthy. But that 1-2 punch at receiver could be a game changer. They're that good and they're young. The running backs are a huge question. ETN just can't seem to figure it out. But I know they've got a couple of young guys that are kind of pressing for time too. So I think they have a chance. And then outside of the Texans, their division's not, it's not what we have to go through or, the NFC North or things like that. So they're going to get some wins by default, rookie quarterback and Cam Ward, things like that. So, I think Jacksonville would be my kind of dark horse in the AFC.
Okay. So now I have to give you crap, Sean, because when we did our predictions back, you had the Titans playing the Broncos in the first round of the playoffs.
I just haven't seen, the Cam Ward stats were kind of, I know it's preseason, but he is a rookie. Bo Nix is not. I think that's kind of where I differentiate some of those preseason statistics. And Cam Ward he looked okay on a team that's just okay. So that's kind of, when they put it on the field, it wasn't what I thought it could be, I guess.
They may have the worst receivers in the league. On that,
especially with Ridley being hurt too.
Yeah, and Cam Ward is not going to be the problem on that team. I can assure you that guy can put the ball wherever he wants on the field. He's an outstanding talent. I think the Broncos will see the most raw version of him. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to see the pass rush, the best pass rush in the NFL. And we'll get into that later, but I'm not too concerned about that game as it stands. So, Sean, let's go into the NFC, the other conference that the defending Super Bowl champions are coming out of. What do you have there for your division winners?
Yeah, man, the East, I think I sticking with Philly. I think that it's actually harder than you would assume being the Super Bowl champions, because I really do think the Commanders are legit. So, but I do have Philly there. They're bringing back basically the same squad. Jalen Hurts he's just a calming presence, dude. Like, I know there's a lot of people that hate on him, but he's just like a quiet assassin. He just goes about his business. He handles it. And he, just like with the Super Bowl thing, like, I'm putting the ring away. That season's over. It's time to move on to the next one. He's just a gangster, for like the slang term for it. He's a cool guy to have. And, I love Bo Nix. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL, but there are some things that, make you jealous is the way he plays the game and the way he approaches the game. So I'm sticking with Philly there. In the North, I'm still sticking with the Lion Kings. I think that I just think they're probably the best of the bunch. JJ McCarthy, I don't think is gonna. I think they'll be there. Obviously with Jefferson and things like that, and the Packers are always relatively good. But the Lions, I just think they're special for a team that's been in the basement for so long. They've got them right where they need to be. So I've got them there. In the South, I am still sticking with Tampa Bay. And I think it's going to be Baker. Mike Evans will give you 1,000 somehow, some way, every single season, no matter how many games he plays. That dude is just an absolute dog. He plays through injuries, and I really think Emeka Egbuka is going to be something special. So, and when you have other receivers, you and I had talked, that's who I wanted, when we had an opportunity to potentially get him in the first round. So I'm going Tampa Bay there. And the West is garbage, but I'm going Seattle. I think.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that they are going to, San Francisco, whatever their health issues are, it's just not getting better. I don't know what is going on there, but they are constantly injured at the most important positions. Matt Stafford has back problems. And when people say Jimmy Garoppolo is the best backup in the league, I don't know if they've watched Jimmy Garoppolo play football in the last few years. So, I mean, Arizona is a wild card for me. I think it's going to be close, but I'm gonna go with Seattle in the West.
That is a really interesting pick, in my opinion. I don't even have Seattle on the radar, but I just am not high on Sam Darnold. I know Cooper Kupp went there, and everyone wanted him to come to the Broncos. I'm not sure how much Cooper Kupp has left in the tank there, so I'm kind of glad the Broncos didn't actually make that signing. So, my division champions, I can change right now in a moment, right? Because no one else has seen them except you.
Yeah, just you and I.
Oh, man. The West is garbage, in my opinion.
It's the worst
I
division.
don't see the hype around. Yeah, I don't see the hype around the 49ers at all. I think they've lost a lot on defense. I don't think that they have replenished that side of the ball at all. I know Brock Purdy got paid. Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Brian Robinson Jr. just got added. They still have Ayuk, but he's out. I'm not sold on Pearsall yet. I think he's a cool story. He's alive and he's playing NFL football and all that stuff, but I'm not sure he's a number one receiver. Not sure I'd go that far. George Kittle is George Kittle. So that's one thing, right? Their offensive line looks pretty good still, but I can't do it. I'm going with the Rams. And I think mainly because of coaching, and because they have Devontae, they have Puka Nacua, and they have that defensive front, which is nasty. So not only do I think the Rams, as long as Stafford can stay healthy, do I think the Rams can win that division, but I think they're a legit Super Bowl contender as well. So I'll go with the Rams for sure. NFC North champion, man, this is the one I kind of want to change. But I don't know if I'm going to. I'm not picking the Vikings to even sniff the playoffs because JJ McCarthy, I'm so glad we did not draft him, dude. I'm so happy. But the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears all have arguments, in my opinion. The Bears have been building a good team for a while now, quietly. And they added to the offensive line to protect Caleb Williams. And I think under Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams is going to take off for sure. The Lions are still going to be a force, obviously. I don't know if their window's closing sooner than people would like. I think it is, but I think they're still in it this year. And then everyone's pretty high on the Packers. They added Matthew Golden from Texas to their already stacked wide receiver core. Jordan Love has shown that he can win some big games and put up some nice numbers. I'm not sure about their defense. For me, it's a little iffy, but I would say that the Packers are going to be right in there. But I'm an idiot, and I'm just going to go with what I said originally to you, Sean, and I'm going to pick the Bears to win the division.
Let me check what you texted me. I can't even believe it could be possible.
It was the Bears.
I know.
Oh, okay. I was like, I know we text a lot, man, but you're not forgetting that stuff. So, yeah. And I think just for the purposes of picking a team that nobody else is really picking, because that happened, Sean. Somebody's going to win a division that nobody picked them to win, right? So with that being said, I'm going to pick another division winner that nobody's picking, and I'm going to go with Carolina Panthers to win the South. I really, really like the way they're building that team. I think they're finally well coached. They're on their way. And as long as Bryce Young continues to evolve, like he did in the second half of last season, I think they're going to be pretty good. And pretty good is good enough to win that division. I think the Buccaneers are going to score for sure. I'm not so sure that their defense has been replenished either. So they're still well coached, and I probably should pick them or Atlanta, because Atlanta's going to score a lot of points too. I think somebody said that out of their 17 games, like 13 of them are indoors or something like that, the Falcons this year. That's crazy. So they will put up numbers. They had the worst pass rush in the NFL last year, right? So it's hard to say that they're going to go from the worst to like middle of the pack, but we'll see. They have made some nice additions over there, but I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers, and I'm not even going to mention the team from Louisiana. So moving on, the East, everyone's so high on the Commanders. It's almost as if the Eagles didn't even win the Super Bowl, right? And people are pretending like the Eagles lost like half their roster. They lost like 3 players. So the Eagles are the Eagles. There's a championship pedigree there. They have Audric Estime now running in that backfield. Well, on the practice squad, I think, right? But they have the best running back in the NFL on their team. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL on their team. And they have arguably the best defense in the NFL still. So for anyone to pick against them would be crazy, in my opinion. But, who knows? And those are the only 2 teams worth mentioning in that division, in my opinion. But I do think – actually, nope, I take that back. They're not the only 2 teams worth mentioning, but there is one team in Dallas that is not going to be a factor this year. So I don't think we need to talk about them at all. So, Sean, with that being said, let's go into our wild card picks for the NFC. What do you got, man?
So I think it's funny because I feel about Caleb Williams as you do about JJ McCarthy. And I think Caleb Williams is the problem. I was not super impressed with his final season at USC. I think he, and I know we're not Bears fans, but clips that I see of him in training camp, I was not impressed, and I was not impressed last year. To have the wide receiver core that he has and not produce is crazy. Between DJ Moore, and they had Keenan Allen there last year, and it just, if they have these horses and he can't seem to get the ball. And I understand that was the line, and that's improved, and they spent a lot of money there and they did a lot of things there, but I don't believe in them. So just like you spoke about JJ McCarthy. So I feel that way about Caleb Williams, but I have Commanders, Packers, Vikings. I do think JJ McCarthy is going to play well. I think it's kind of a redshirt year. I know he was injured, but he was in the building. He was able to be on the sidelines. Sam Darnold did a incredibly effective job there. And I do think that they are going to stay relevant enough in the NFC to sneak in the 7th spot. But I have it Commanders, Packers, 5-6, Vikings, 7.
Interesting. Well, it's okay to be wrong about Caleb Williams. That's okay. There's no worries there, man. when it comes to playoff predictions, I always go a little bit, off the chalkboard because I feel like every year somebody just comes out of nowhere, and I have one somebody coming out of nowhere that nobody's picking. But I'm gonna take the Lions as the 5. I will take the Commanders as the 6, and then brace yourself.
The Saints?
No, no, not the Saints, not the Cowboys. It's no, it's not the Cardinals. It's the Giants, baby. Let's go. It's the Giants. And I don't know what's possessing me to say that, but I do think at some point Russell Wilson will, of course, lose his job to Jackson Dart, who looked phenomenal in preseason. I really liked him coming out of college. I did question him like crying on the sideline during the Florida game. That's kind of weird. But that kid has a lot of talent. And if you just look at the energy around the Giants, mainly because of Jameis, if you just look at the energy there's something different. There's something special going on. They've got one of the best receivers in the NFL. Some people would argue he's top 3, top 5 in Malik Neighbors. I really like Darius Slayton still out there at the wide receiver 2, and then Wan'Dale Robinson. I like Jalen Hyatt, although he had some drop issues in the preseason. The running back room looks pretty good with Tracy Jr., Singletary, and Cam Scatabo. And that defensive front, man,
yeah,
they're going to be good. They are going to get to the quarterback. Hopefully not our quarterback when they come here. But I really think that they're going to surprise some people. I really do. And so I'm going to take the Giants to be that 7 seed. And now I'll take your reaction to this insanity.
I mean, if you're correct, Jackson Dart is the offensive rookie of the year. That's the only way that happens, because I do not think that Jameis or Russell Wilson takes that team to those heights. I think there's just too much uncertainty. There's just too many guys in the room. Like, you have 3 dudes that could play. I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't think it's crazy. You're right. Between Abdul Carter and Thibodeau, they could have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. They're not going to beat us from a pass rush perspective. I still think we'll lead the league in sacks, or it'll be the Eagles. But no, I did have surprised face when you said it, but I do think that if it is to come to fruition, it's going to be because Jackson Dart's the real deal.
Yeah, no question. I just think Jameis Winston is carrying some sort of magic with him, man. And I think the Giants I don't know. I'm big on the Giants for this upcoming season. Anybody could pick the Packers or the Seahawks or the Bucks. I'm going with the Giants. So how about that? So Sean, the Giants aren't my sleeper team. My sleeper team is the Cardinals. Who is your sleeper team in the NFC?
That's exactly who I picked too.
Cardinals.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. He's special. Kyler Murray
can be.
Yeah, gosh, if that guy was 6'4", you know what I mean? He could be the best quarterback in the NFL. But I don't know what it is about them. I think the division is super weak, obviously, as we talked about. So if they can stay healthy, they can make some noise. But I have the Cardinals as well for the NFC.
Awesome. It's okay to be right sometimes too, Sean,
Sometimes great minds think alike, man.
So Sean, before we get into Super Bowl predictions and then on to the preview for the Broncos game against the Titans, who is your NFL MVP this season?
I am drinking some of your crazy Kool-Aid on this one, and I'm going to go with Jared Goff. I think the Lions.
Wow.
He had he was a front runner for a lot of last season. I think they are going to be front runners with the Eagles for the NFC for the majority of the season. Amon-Ra St. Brown he's a special dude. I was a little sad that Tim Patrick just got traded away.
Mm-hmm.
I liked watching him on a team like that. And I think he went to Jacksonville.
He went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, poor guy.
Special sauce, baby.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Jared Goff, I know some of the numbers may be empty sometimes, but I think the Lions are the real deal, man. I think that they have an opportunity that they squandered last year. And I think they have an opportunity because he plays well within that system. And I think he's going to have a good statistical year, and they're going to win a lot of games.
Even without Ben Johnson. That's a pick, man. That is a pick. I like it. You're drinking some of that crazy juice just like me. My MVP pick's going to be a little bit more chalk. I'm going with Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to be Lamar's year all the way around. He's got a really good offense around him, and in the AFC, it's pretty wide open. I think Bo Nix has a pretty good chance to be NFL MVP, right? You got Josh Allen, you got Burrow, you got Lamar, you got Mahomes, and maybe Nix. And I know it's an NFL award, but if we're talking about just the guys he needs to beat out within his own conference, I think he's got a pretty good shot. And then you look at the NFC, and what do we got? We got Matt Stafford, possibly. We got Jalen Hurts. We got Jaden. We've got Jordan Love and Jared Goff, right?
Yep.
And Caleb Williams is probably going to have to be pretty special to make my pick come true. So thanks for that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Lamar, dude. I think it's finally – I mean, I think he's won one before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I think I wouldn't say he was robbed last year. I think he played so good in a year where somebody just played a lot better in Josh Allen. I will not be happy if Josh Allen repeats. I'm not a fan. I don't know. The Bills.
You are a Bills hater.
I am a Bills hater, and that's okay. But I'll go with Lamar. And then we don't have to get into the other stuff. Let's go to the Super Bowl. What do you got?
I got Lions Ravens.
Whew.
I think it's going to be Lions Eagles in the NFC Championship. I think they get over the hump this year. The Ravens, I'm with you. They're too good in so many places, and I think they're due. They've taken their lumps. Lamar's been through it all. I think it's just one of those things where they've ascended to where they are going to be. I think it's going to be Bills Ravens in the AFC Championship game, as much as you hate Josh and everything about him for some reason. But I'm not trying to just crap on the Chiefs here, because obviously I think they're going to be right there with us. I think those are going to be kind of maybe the last four, but I just think that it's the Ravens year. I'm picking them to beat the Lions in the Super Bowl.
The Lion, man, you are riding the Lions just like I'm riding the Giants all the way to the Super Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I am not taking the Giants to go to the Super Bowl. I am going to take the Ravens against the Eagles. I don't see another team in the NFC. I think the NFC is pretty weak this year outside of like Washington, and I'm not even that high on them. I think the hype is a little too crazy over there. The North teams are going to have something to say, and I think the Rams will have something to say as long as Stafford's healthy. But the Eagles are the Eagles, man, and until they're dethroned in the NFC, I'm not picking against them. So I think the Eagles will go to the Super Bowl against the Ravens. And like you said, the Ravens have taken their lumps. They have lost heartbreaking playoff game after heartbreaking playoff game against the Chiefs, against the Bills, against whoever. And I think that they are so good on defense. Like, they are so good. And then you add Malachi Starks from my Georgia Bulldogs to that defensive backfield, and you have something even scarier than they've had before. I think they are by far and away the best team in the AFC, and I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. But I do have, Sean, the Broncos playing the Ravens in the AFC Championship, but it'll be in Baltimore, and we all know that's a house of horror for the Broncos, and that's how that kind of goes sometimes. So
yeah,
the Broncos will take that next step. They'll get one step closer to the Super Bowl, but they won't quite make it this year. I've got the Ravens. So
sweet. Yeah, I think we're on the same page for a lot of it, honestly.
Except for the Giants and the Bears and the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean,
and the Jaguars.
Like you said,
I don't know what
it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
It is okay to be wrong. Just so everyone's clear, you can give me crap for this later in the year. But also, I want my flowers if these teams all make the playoffs too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I think that's only fair. So, yeah. Sean, we've got a few minutes left. Let's talk about, we are finally here, Sean. Week 1 is upon us. Next weekend, I know last time I said it was this weekend, but it's next weekend. We are super excited to get the Broncos back home. They are facing what seems to be an inferior opponent, Sean, but are they an inferior opponent?
Absolutely. Unfortunately for Cam Ward, he has to face the NFL's best defense in his first real game. And if this was later in the season, maybe it would feel a little different, or maybe it'd be a little closer. But this is going to be a blowout. And it's going to be because the defense, who's going to score from the Titans? Who's going to score on this defense other than a busted play or unless I'm just completely out of bounds on this defense. And I don't think anybody thinks that that's the case. You know, we're going to get turnovers. They're going to turn them over, I think, at least twice. And the offense is going to have short fields. I think this might be a 3-score win.
Wow. I believe the Broncos are 1-5 in their last 6 week 1 games. I think that's a thing. And I've had this thing about the Broncos starting slow at home. They like sleepwalk through the first couple drives, and sometimes it comes back to bite them in the you-know-what. And that's been a thing under Sean Payton that I've been concerned about. And that's another story with Sean Payton. And I hope I don't have to dig in on him too deep this year. But he's going to drive me nuts with the running backs. I just know he is. And the running game and his play calling. But we'll see. We'll see. We love you, Sean. But sometimes, man, my goodness. I think the Broncos will be really good on defense in this game and all season. I'm not sure about the offense. Tennessee's defense is nothing to sneeze at, man. Like they were pretty good last year in certain areas, and I know they were coached by Mike. Was it Mike Vrabel last year? It was, right? Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for the Broncos. Would I like to see like 52-10? That would be awesome. I'm not sure we're going to see that. Maybe like a 24-10 squeaker, like we score a late touchdown.
I feel like 17. 17 is the number to my head as far as the win differential for me. You know, it's one of those like 27-10s, something like that.
Okay. I don't think the game will be close necessarily. I'm just not sure about this offense quite yet. And you've got the whole Bo Nix hasn't played football with his ones really against another team yet. So that's something they're going to have to work on that. They're going to have to implement their offense, and there's going to be miscues and things like that. Evan Ingram's going to have to get used to playing with Bo in a game. You know, it's RJ Harvey's first game. Who knows if there'll be jitters there. You know, J.K. Dobbins will be holding our breath every time he touches the football this year. I think the Broncos will keep it close, or the Titans will keep it close for a little bit, and the Broncos maybe pull away at the end. Of course, I think the Broncos will win the game because the Titans are just not on the Broncos level. But any given Sunday, right, you never know. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to see Cam Ward. I was a big fan of his in college. I loved watching him. And like I said, he can put the ball wherever he wants. The arm talent is not a problem when it comes to that guy. The offensive line and their receivers are going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
So we'll see how
it's not his arm talent, man. It's the receiver's leg talent. They're just not good.
Yeah. Well, that's why they play the games. So everyone be on the lookout for our posts about our predictions including our picks for this game and every other game. We'll post them on game day on our Instagram page at BroncBros_. I don't know why we have to have an underscore, but we have one. So be on the lookout for that. And then every Sunday, Sean, right, we are going to do a post game of some sort. May not be right after the game, but we will do a post game covering the game live, except next weekend, the first game we won't, because I'll be at a Jimmy World concert. So I'll be watching the Broncos, and then I got to go to a concert. So I'm looking forward to that. But Sean, the rest of the games, we will, if it's a 11 o'clock game, we'll probably come on at like 2:30. And then if it's a 2 o'clock game, we'll come on probably about 5:30, 6, something like that. And then if it's a Monday night game, good night, Sean. I'll have to do it by myself, I think.
Yeah, it'll be late for me.
So we're looking forward to the season. Thank you guys for tuning in. Try not to be too harsh with me on my picks and not picking the Broncos to win the division. I'm sorry. I'm rooting for it. You guys know I'm a Broncos fan, and me and Sean are two of the biggest Broncos fans you'll ever meet. So we're excited to go through the season with you. Thanks for tuning in. You can find me at Mile High Mez. You can find him at his house. You can find us at BroncBros_. As always, go Broncos.
See you next week.